This video is all about likable characters, because you probably heard that, right? You need your character to be likable. Well, the problem with that is sometimes people try to make their characters too nice, and then they end up being really boring. Instead of thinking about making your characters likable, you actually want to think about making your characters interesting. Your lead can be a dirty, rotten scoundrel if they're interesting.
Marcus, get this kid off me before he pisses on me, all right?
There are plenty of characters in TV and film that aren't necessarily likable or nice, but we still find them fascinating. Bad Santa.
I loved a woman who wasn't clean.
Steve Jobs.
Do it, Andy!
Leonardo DiCaprio in The Wolf of Wall Street. American Psycho.
You're my lawyer, so I think you should know I've killed a lot of people.
Jack Nicholson in As Good as It Gets.
How do you write women so well?
I think of a man, and I take away reason and accountability.
Beavis and Butthead.
It's like this chick's a slut. And look at this guy. He's old.
Tony Soprano in The Sopranos. Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean.
You stole my boat.
Actually.
The Grinch Who Stole Christmas.
You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch.
Archie Bunker in All in the Family.
Oh, no, I'm going to sue that guy. First thing in the morning, I got to get myself a good Jew lawyer.
Mark Zuckerberg in The Social Network.
The reason we're able to sit here and drink right now is because you used to sleep with the door guy.
Clint Eastwood in The Unforgiven.
Who'd you kill first? Huh?
And Edwina and Patsy in Absolutely Fabulous.
You need to be using fetus blood, Eddie. A little spritz of afterbirth, darling. Keep up, sweetie.
And there are plenty of villains that we love. Hans Gruber, the Joker, and Hannibal Lecter. Now, why do we love these characters? It isn't because they're likable or nice. Why do we love Hannibal Lecter? He eats people. It doesn't get any worse than that. That's not nice. That's not likable. But still, we're fascinated by those characters. So there's a lot of advice about making your character likable. It's where the title of Save the Cat comes from. That book is having the character save a cat to show how nice they are. Or there's the pet the dog scene. Or my favorite that I see all the time, they have the lead give money to a homeless person. Well, if your lead is boring and kind of flat and maybe not very smart and passive and they give $2 to a homeless person, I still don't care about them. I still don't. What makes characters interesting? Your characters don't have to have every single one of these qualities, but they at least need one or a few. Number one, they're smart. A lot of the characters that I just mentioned were very smart. Number two, funny. We like funny characters. The Joker is hilarious. Edina and Patsy in Absolutely Fabulous are hysterical. Beavis and Butthead, they are funny. Number three, bold. They're fearless. They don't hang back. They're not scared. They're not timid. They're not passive. Four, they're honest. You tend to trust someone who's honest even if they don't necessarily say something nice. Like if you ask someone, does this dress make my butt look big? You're looking for honesty. And if they give you, oh, you look great, and that's a lie and they're just being nice, do you like that? No, you don't like that. Number five, they're talented. They have a skill. So many on that list that I mentioned were talented, like Jack Nicholson in As Good as It Gets was a brilliant writer. Number six, they love someone or someone loves them. It shows they have a soft spot. They have feeling. So like Jack Nicholson in As Good as It Gets, he does horrible things. He throws a dog down the garbage chute. He insults people to their face, says mean things about women. But then we see him go to the restaurant and he practically melts when the waitress that he likes scolds him. We can tell that he likes her. And that shows us he's got a little soft underbelly in there, and we like that. Or you can show that someone else likes them, that they see something redeemable and lovable in them. Number seven, other people respect them and find them interesting. So we sometimes take social cues. We think of someone kind of how other people think of them, so you can make everyone around them respect them and like them. Number eight, they're in a tough situation. They have had a lot of bad luck. They've had a lot of bad things happen to them in their life. We kind of give people a free pass if they have a tragic story. Number nine, they have a goal. They're active. They're going for something. Number 10, they're passionate. This kind of, again, shows that they have feelings, and that passion can be weird and demented and misplaced, but they still have passion. Number 11 is they're relatable. One of the reasons we might like Hannibal Lecter is the people that he killed were what he called the free-range rude, just annoying people, because we can relate to that. Part of us is like, yeah, let's just get rid of them. Number 12, they have flaws or handicaps. In As Good as It Gets, Jack Nicholson was suffering from OCD, and you could tell that he had that as an affliction. And number 13, I'm putting this one last, they are nice. And too many people are trying to make their lead characters nice to make them likable. And guess what? The opposite effect happens. Have you ever gone to a job interview and you so much want them to like you, you're trying to be perfect and you're trying to say all the right things and you're being so polite, oh thank you, and you're complimenting people on random things you would never compliment them on, like, oh my gosh, your earlobes are amazing. I've never seen someone with such perfectly shaped earlobes. I mean, you were so fake and weird, you didn't even like you. Like, you just could feel Stepfordy and fake. And you don't like people who are like that. You don't like brown nosers or people who are super uber happy and cheerful and always so polite. It's annoying. So here, you can actually take a cue from real life people when it comes to your characters, because we don't relate to characters in movies really any differently than we relate to characters in our lives. So let's take some notes from popular YouTube stars. They have to be likable, engaging, interesting to get all their subscribers. And this is what they had to say, their biggest piece of advice to try to get subscribers and become successful as a YouTube personality.
My channel actually didn't grow for the longest time, and the reason why is because I tried so hard to be this cookie cutter perfect girl. Hey guys! So I wanted to share with you some things that I got from Brandy Melville. I placed 2 orders from there online, but literally the second that I started being myself and leaving in my random Alicia-ness and ramblingness, bloopers and whatever, like that is the second my channel started to grow.
So their biggest advice was to not try to be something that people would like, to not try to be so wonderful, and to just be real. That people are looking for authenticity. They're looking for honesty. They're looking for different. And this is the problem I see in screenplays, is that the writer is trying so hard to make their protagonist likable that they become that kind of perfect, generic, flat, boring, we don't care nothing. And we would rather have some flaws, some weirdness, some kooky quirks, some imperfections that would actually make the character more likable. Now there's also a trick if you want to have a really kind of dastardly mean character in your script, and this was done in the movie The Unforgiven. It's make everybody else in your script worse. So then your guy, even if they're bad, they aren't as bad as everyone else, and they kind of become good by comparison. So here's a list of things to avoid that make characters not likable or not interesting. Number 1 is the too nice. Just trying to be too nice. You just don't get a vibe for them. They just feel fake. They don't feel like they're being real. You don't really understand how they really think. It's just boring. Number 2, they're passive. They don't want to do anything. People call them and say, hey, you want to go out tonight? And they're like, no, I don't really want to go out. Their friends are like, hey, she's cute, ask her out. No, I don't think so. They don't want to do anything. They don't have a goal. They don't want anything. They only know what they don't want. They don't know what they want. So we don't get a vibe for them, because we really understand characters by what they want, by what they find important. So we just can't figure your character out. Number 3 is if they're cold or unfeeling. If they just don't feel things, then we can't really feel anything for them. So too often I see in scripts it's just like a cold, distant character that's just like kind of half there. Not interesting. Number 4 is if they're stupid. Now, you can get away with sort of a lovable, doofy, ditzy character, so some of these have caveats. But if they're just not very bright, not as likable. Number 5 is if they have a victim mentality. They're always self-pitying. They feel sorry for themselves. They're very quick to get sad. Not so great. Number 6 is if they're overly negative. Always think the worst. They're just a great big Debbie Downer. Now again, a lot of these have caveats. Some of these you can make work if you pair them with the things that make characters interesting. So you could have a super downer character if they're uber funny. That could work. But normally, if you're not pairing this with something else, if they're not funny and they don't have a lot of quirks and they're not passionate and they're just a Debbie Downer, not interesting. Number 7, if they're mean. Now again, caveat, you can get away with mean if you pair it with some of the other things that make them likable, but you gotta really balance the scale so that they have a lot of positive qualities that we find interesting to balance out them being mean. And something else to very much consider when it comes to affecting how we're gonna feel about your character, really look at the first thing they say and how they're introduced. Because I see so many scripts where the lead character like comes into the kitchen and the mom says, "You want some orange juice?" And they say something like, "Nah, I'm just gonna have some coffee." It's just not interesting. The book Blink basically said people make decisions so quickly. We make assumptions so quickly in a blink. Your audience, your reader, is going to decide very quickly whether or not they like your lead character, and it's going to be because of how you first introduce them. And if you miss the boat on that, it's going to be really hard to get the audience back on board. So make sure their introduction is strong, really shows who they are, reveals character, is dramatic, because if it's just something boring like, "Are we out of orange juice?" Yeah, not so good. And you would be surprised how many scripts I have where the lead character just says something kind of boring. And then also you really want to try to make your lead character be the first character in the screenplay, or if not the first character. Let's say if you're doing, you know, a serial killer movie and you show a little clip of the serial killer as a teaser first and then you go to the lead, but try to make sure your lead character, if they aren't the very first character we meet in the whole script, whatever scene you first introduce them in, they're the first character introduced, so you don't have any minor business with some other characters first and then get to your lead. Now it'd be okay if you had other characters help build the entrance of your lead, like if you show a whole bunch of people saying, "He's coming, he's coming, he's coming," and "Oh my gosh, he's amazing," or whatever, saying to help build up their entrance. But again, in the really bad scene that I was describing, if we just see the mom first and the mom just says, you know, "Do you want some orange juice?" and then your lead says, "No, I'm just gonna have coffee." The mom kind of stole a little bit of thunder from your lead when she was the first one that appeared and not your lead. So try to get your lead to be the first one that appears in the scene of the first scene that they are actually in, or introduced as soon as possible, so we latch onto them as the lead. Because sometimes screenwriters will introduce so many other characters first, we start to latch onto those characters as the lead, and then when we find out they're not, then it's a little confusing. So try to get them in there as soon as possible. Try to give them a dramatic, strong entrance. We're gonna judge your characters right in the very beginning and make them interesting, which is not necessarily likable, because they don't have to be so nice. I hope this video helped you. If it did, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will talk to you later.